Breaking overnight in Greece, a 20-year-old woman has been found dead inside her home after what police believe was a violent home invasion. 4:30 in the morning, and the street outside a two-story maisonette in Glika on the outskirts of Athens is silent. The gate is shut. The lights are off. Nothing here suggests that anything has gone wrong, which is exactly the problem, because inside something already has. Babis is asleep. Beside him, his wife. Down the hall, an 11-month-old girl sleeps in her crib, unaware that the next 90 minutes will be the ones she carries for the rest of her life, even if she never remembers them. 3 men are already in the house. Then they come for Babis. He wakes to hands on him, weight on his chest. Hooded men who move fast and say little. Pistols, rope, duct tape, wound around his mouth and eyes and down to his neck until he can't see and can barely breathe. He hears one word over and over, money, and he does what anyone would do. He tells them where it is, not a safe, not a drawer, a Monopoly box. It should end there. It doesn't. The men don't leave. They move room to room, pulling out jewelry, ransacking drawers, and somewhere in that chaos, Caroline is no longer beside him. Babis hears her screaming. He hears his daughter crying in the next room, and later he will say there was a gun held against the child's temple while her mother fought for her life a few feet away. He fights the ropes until the one around his neck cuts off his air, and the room goes black. When he comes to, the house is quiet in a way it wasn't before. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that means the people who were shouting a moment ago are gone, and the people who should be crying out now aren't. His daughter is close by, sobbing. His wife is not making a sound. It takes him 30 minutes, blind and bound, to reach his phone and dial for help using his nose. The operator can barely understand him through the tape. Send an ambulance, robbers. That's all he can get out. By the time first responders reach the house, it's almost 6 in the morning. 90 minutes have passed since it started. What they find inside will stay with them for years. The living room has been torn apart, drawers emptied, clothes scattered across the floor. A security camera ripped from the wall and dropped on the couch, its memory card missing. On the staircase, Roxy hangs by her own leash. In the main bedroom, Babis lies on the floor, still bound, tape still wound around his mouth and eyes. On the bed, face down, is his wife, Caroline Crouch. Their daughter is beside her, crying, clapping her small hands against her mother's back, trying to wake her up. Caroline doesn't wake up. She is 20 years old. 4 years earlier, she was a 15-year-old girl on the island of Alonissos, the daughter of a retired engineer and his wife, raised on scuba diving and salt water, when a 27-year-old helicopter pilot flew low over her school and changed the direction of her life. His name was Babis. 2 years later, the two of them eloped to Portugal. A daughter followed. And days before this morning, the couple had used 50,000 euros, a gift from Caroline's parents, to buy a plot of land, the place where they'd planned to build a house neither of them would ever see finished. Investigators reconstruct the scene. The dog killed first, the couple discovered asleep, the ransacking, the money taken from the Monopoly box, and finally, before the intruders left, Caroline smothered with a pillow. Investigators believed the intruders had at the rear of the property, where the security pins had been pulled loose. According to Babis, they approached from the back, encountered Roxy first, and killed the family's 7-month-old husky using her own leash. He also reported hearing both Greek and Albanian spoken during the attack. It wasn't fast. Bruises across her body suggest she fought. The attack lasted close to 6 minutes. There is no sign of sexual assault. The only physical trace left behind is a single hood, apparently torn off in the struggle, from which police build a sketch. Heavyset, dark-skinned, tall. A partial description of 2 weapons follows: a black pistol and a silver Colt. 10,000 euros in cash and 20,000 in jewelry are gone. A police spokesperson calls the crime brutal and professional, the work of someone with, in his words, no empathy at all. The theories multiply. If this was a robbery, why kill her? Was she recognized? Did she fight back, a black belt in kickboxing, and force their hand? Nobody agrees, except on one point. Whoever did this knew, in advance, that there was money hidden in that house. Investigators pull security footage from every home and business near the property and find something that tightens the case further. A dark-colored vehicle, and behind it, a motorcycle, circling the street in the hours before dawn on the morning of the murder. To the detectives combing through it, this no longer looks like chance. It looks like a rehearsal. 3 days after the murder, Caroline is buried on Anagnostopoulos, the island where she grew up. Babis tells reporters he was lucky to have loved her, lucky she loved him back, lucky she gave him a daughter, who, he adds, will grow up without any memory of her mother. On the same day, 400 kilometers north, a car is pulled over near the Bulgarian border. Inside is a Georgian national named Georgi Haradishvili, traveling on a fake passport, wanted for a string of break-ins across Athens. 3 of them near Babis and Caroline's own neighborhood, one involving a woman dragged by her hair and threatened with a knife. He resembles the sketch. He is arrested, interrogated for 4 days, beaten in the process, left concussed, and he never breaks because he has never heard of Caroline Crouch. He is released. 3 officers are demoted. The investigation turns toward Albanian organized crime. A list of 100 names narrowed to 10. Mugshots shown to Babis without explanation. Weeks pass. There is no DNA, no fingerprints, no arrests. The public grows restless, then afraid, and a reward large enough to change someone's life goes unclaimed. Because, as one expert tells the press, a case this clean isn't ordinary, and ordinary cases don't stay open this long. Babis keeps giving interviews. He tells journalists he hopes what happened to him never happens to anyone else. He thanks the public for their support. He waits. Then, on June 17th, 37 days after his wife's murder, Babis attends a small memorial for Caroline on Anagnostopoulos. He notices a detective in the crowd. When the service ends, investigators approach him quietly and ask him to come to Athens to identify a suspect. He agrees, not knowing that the case against him has already been built. Because nothing adds up. The basement window he described is too small for a man of the build he sketched. Neighbors heard no ransacking, no cries for help, only a dog, distressed, somewhere in the dark. There is no DNA anywhere in a house that 4 armed intruders supposedly tore apart. Investigators can't explain why they would tie up a grown man and physically fight a woman half his size. The security camera's memory card, Babis claimed, was removed by the intruders, except the footage shows it was pulled at 1:20 a.m., hours before he says anyone broke in. Caroline's smartwatch tells its own story, asleep at 3:58 a.m., her heart rate spiking 50% by 4:05, and by 4:11 it has stopped, earlier than the time Babis gave police. His own phone's fitness app shows him moving around the house during the exact minutes he claimed to be tied to the floor. And when investigators try to recreate his emergency call, dialing with only his nose, hands bound behind his back, no one can do it. There's more. Investigators start pulling apart the marriage itself, and what they find bears no resemblance to the couple smiling in every photo online. Babis and Caroline never had a traditional Greek wedding. No families gathered, no long celebration. They eloped instead, a gesture that once looked romantic and now reads, in hindsight, like the first act of isolating her. Back home, Babis was the one who worked, the one who controlled the money, while Caroline was still a university student in Athens with little income of her own. When her mother, Susan, sent her cash, investigators learned that Babis would take it too. In 2019, Caroline wrote in her diary about a fight so serious she considered packing a bag and going to her sister's. She never did. Phone records show she tried to book a hotel room for herself and her daughter on the night she died. A text to a friend says she's planning to leave him. Her diary, recovered during the investigation, tells a story her social media never did, reducing her, in her own words, to someone who stayed only because she was pregnant and couldn't bear the thought of her daughter growing up without two parents. One entry, written the month after their daughter was born, says simply that she has told Babis she wants to leave, and that she feels awful. It is dated less than a year before her death. Records from her phone that final night show hours of argumentative, combative texts exchanged with the man lying beside her. Confronted with all of it, Babis is interrogated for 8 hours before he breaks. The confession comes in pieces, and even then, wrapped in blame. He says they argued the night before over their daughter, that Caroline wanted to leave and take the child with her, that she pushed him first. He says something in him snapped. He strangled her. He pressed a pillow over her face with his full body weight until she stopped moving, in the room next to their sleeping child. He says he thought about disposing of the body and knew he couldn't. So he built a story instead. He killed Roxy to make it convincing. He placed his daughter beside her mother's corpse. He tied his own hands, taped his own mouth, and waited for morning. In May 2022, Babis is convicted of premeditated murder, obstruction of justice, providing false testimony, and animal cruelty. The case that gripped an entire country for weeks, filed under the shadow of strangers, hooded men, a getaway that was never real, closes on the one person who was in the house the whole time. Caroline Crouch is remembered by the people who knew her as a girl who loved the sea before she loved anyone else. Somewhere on Elanissos, that's still true. What isn't true is everything the world was told for 37 days. That a monster came through a window in the dark when the truth was already lying in the bed beside her, waiting for morning to make it someone else's story. If a case like this stayed with you the way it stayed with an entire country, there's more waiting where this one came from. Subscribe and let the next one find you.